I think the West Ham is separate to the rest of the games because that's the game we focus on. Obviously, we have those games coming up, but coming from a tough loss when we had a good performance, but we received 2 easy goals against Chelsea, we want to bounce back and make sure we have a good game and a good result against West Ham. So no matter the result in that game, we will play even more games in the league. But obviously, it's an important game to make sure we start winning again and make sure we get some points in the table as well.
And with West Ham currently sitting at the bottom of the table, can you touch on the psychology of playing a team that's still looking for that first win?
I mean, all the games are a battle. You need to win. All the teams in this league is very competitive, and I feel like it's no easy wins or it's no easy games. And you might think that West Ham, they haven't won yet and they will come here and it's going to be an easy win, but it's not like that. We played against them last season with really tough games. We succeeded to win, but it was really tough games. I know that Rian have a plan for coming to our stadium as well. We had them in the friendly game in the preseason as well, so we know them well. But it's also like a few of the players there are top players. So we need to be really sharp. We need to fix a few things from the last game, and we need to make sure we are at our best, and then we have a good chance to win. But it's a tough game.
And just lastly from me, how concerned are you about the defensive performance, having conceded, I think, tied the most in the league?
I'm not concerned in that way where I feel like I see what we can fix. I see what we need to fix. I see where we need to be better. We scored a lot of goals, which is good, but we need to fix the receiving goals. And I think it's not an easy fix, but it's a fix that we want to do. And I think also the players are aware what we should do and what we will do. And then it's still every game is unique, so we need to make sure we score more against an opponent. But we want to go for more clean sheets, definitely.
Okay, thank you, Robert.
Cheers.
Okay, pass the mic to George, please.
Hi, Robert. Good to see you. How's the sort of confidence of the players? Obviously, a couple of heavy defeats. Have you sort of had to kind of rebuild that during this international break, or do you still sense the players have a lot of belief and confidence?
I think they are in a really, really good headspace where even when we won games, they are quite, focusing on how can we get better. And now when we lost a few games, they are actually very self-aware what they do, what we need to improve. They don't try to blame anyone else. We see the structure, we see the way we play, we see some really good stuff, but we are quite frustrated that we receive so many easy goals, and I think everybody's on the same page there. I know the players had a great meeting after the Chelsea game, after we were on the pitch as well, so we know what we need to fix, and we're doing it together. But it's a part of the journey. Last season we had some really good games, a few setbacks, and then really good games. This season we started really well. Now we had a few games where we struggled to get points. We don't play bad football, but we need to defend better, for example. So, this is a part of the way we need to go through, and I think they are really keen to get better. And hopefully we can get a result and a good performance on Sunday.
Yeah, I was going to mention last season, you had brilliant runs last year, but you did have a couple of really tough runs, and I guess do you lean on that personally in these sort of times, because last season you come through it and you have the sort of belief obviously you can come through it again this time?
Yeah, we absolutely have the belief, and we know that we can do that because we did it last season. I think that it's a big difference from last season, because last season we were smashed in a few games where we were a little bit naive and we didn't really have a good structure for that, and we didn't really play the best football. This phase we actually play some really good football and have some really good momentum in the games, but we don't really nail to score on those chances, and then we actually receive goals on few chances from the opponent. So it's a big difference there, but it's still a fight we need to take, something we need to learn, how we're going to go through it. And I think we had some really good talks with the players who were here, not in the national team break, and then the rest of the players came back today, and we kind of made sure everybody's on the same page and what we need to do. But this is football, this is the part of the journey, and you also need to make sure you go through the tougher periods of time, otherwise you shouldn't be on this level.
And just finally, what's the sort of team news with the international players coming back and previous injuries? Yeah,
we're taking steps. So right now, Shuang and Amy and Haley, everybody's back in training, and then it's decision making tomorrow if they are ready to start or be in the squad for Sunday. So basically, Mike is still out, obviously, and then Kit Graham, of course. But hopefully we have the rest of the players, because they are training right now. So hopefully most of them can be in the squad this week, or otherwise next week. So it looks better and better. So that's good.
Okay, we will move to questions on the online feed, coming first to Emma.
Hi Robert, just sort of building on kind of what you were saying there about the defensive record, I just wonder how much of that is, I guess, having that balance between that entertaining style that you kind of said on day one you wanted to have, but also then being, a little bit more aware of perhaps not taking as many risks in certain games.
It's definitely a mixture of the tactic we have in possession. Being a top team, playing the style we do is very effectful. When I was in Häcken, we scored a lot of goals, we won a lot of games because we were the dominating team all the time, and then we had a few chances against us, but we could solve that. Being a what should you call a mid-table team from finishing number 6 last season is always the balance of how much do we dare to go forward but not look stupid when we have basically losing the ball. So if you look at Chelsea, we play some really good football. We are brave. We actually have a few chances in the first half as well. But 3 of their goals are when we do easy mistakes in the build-up or in that phase where we didn't really push them down. And then they have a really high-quality player who can drive into our penalty box and we don't stop her. So it's a mixture of the balance when we lose the ball and we shouldn't lose the ball. And then it's how we need to stop that player. So it's a combination of the 3 things. But obviously we need to look at the balance we have in some phases of the game to make sure we can handle a loss of the ball better. But on the other hand, we have scored 10 goals in 2 games and we have some really good attacking patterns as well. So it's the mixture. But of course we need to respect the journey, and now we're receiving too many goals. So we need to look at it, the defense work a little bit more and make sure we have some good characters that can handle those situations we end up with, and try to make sure we don't get too many counterattacks against us, basically.
Yeah, and I guess another strand to that mixture that you talk about is obviously keeping the fans on board. And I suppose when you're playing nice football and winning, it's obviously a lot more fun. When you play nice football and obviously not getting the results, perhaps it is less fun. So I suppose they go tandem with each other, don't they?
Yeah, I think you can. That's a good point, actually, because if you win and you play fun football, I think then that's the best you can do. If you play fun football and lose, you can always say that we have a good style of play, but fans will not love to lose. If you lose, or if you actually win game and play bad football, they're going to be quite happy that we win games, but it's going to be hard for us to win the trophies, because in the end it's going to be hard to get to the point where we can dominate games and win it. And then if you lose and play bad football, that's the worst thing, and then you need to think of what you're doing. And I don't think we are there. We don't play bad football and lose games. We actually play some good football and compete quite well, but we need to fix a few things. I know the fans have so much emotions. I know we have a lot of emotions, so when you lose, you should feel like that, and you should be quite hard on yourself, but also like when you put it, like breathe a little bit, watch it out. Where are we now? What do we do? Then you also need to understand that the Man United and the Chelsea away games is probably 2 of the toughest games you can have in Europe. And where we are, obviously we are not there yet where we can, basically, we need to be really sharp to win those games. And when we don't win it, we need to be a little bit better how we act in some phases to make sure we compete for 90 minutes. We obviously compete for 40, 45 minutes in these 2 games. And then you can take another step back and see, like, okay, where are we? We have a few key signings this season because we lost a few key players from last season and they were injured this time, which also have an impact on us. And everything is, when you put it together, it ends up with a result in the game. And obviously it's a poor result. But on the other hand, the players who's playing is acting most of the time in a good way. So for me as a coach, I see some really good potential. But I also need to make sure we get better result because I want to please the fans. I don't want to talk about next year. I want to make sure we get the progress result-wise as well. And that's what we try to do every week. And even if we lose, we're not happy just because we play good football. We want to win. And that's the aim for it.
Thank you very much. All the best.
Cheers.
Thanks, Emma. We'll go to JB.
Hi, Robert. Nice to see you. Just wanted to ask, Robert, what you've thought of West Ham more generally this season, because although they haven't won yet, they've obviously picked up the draw against Liverpool, and it feels like they're maybe a little bit more sure of themselves. I just wanted to know what you generally made of their performances so far. Yeah,
I mean, I think if you look at the squad in the starting 11, it's some really good players. Some of them are, playing in the national team, and obviously Rianne she knows the league very well. The first game against Man United, they were quite good in the beginning, but then they had Man United scored from perhaps a free kick, another free kick, but goals change mindset in games. But they had a good game until that goal. I think Liverpool, they did a really good performance and came back to a draw. I think they were really good against Arsenal until they got the penalty. So obviously it's a good team. Obviously they have some quality players. But on the other hand, we know what we can do and how we can play against the top teams and those teams as well. So for us, it's making sure we take steps in our performance and how we play. If we do that, we have a good chance to actually win the game. I know that, but I'm also aware that West Ham is not a team that's just going to lose every game this season. They're going to compete every week, and if we're not doing everything right, they can win on Sunday. So we need to be very sharp, and we have enormous respect for them.
And just one more from me, Robert. On Claire Hunt, she obviously scored her first international goal with the Matildas in the midweek. I just wondered what it's been like working with her and what you've made of her character and how mature she is as a defender maybe at such a young age.
I think the key thing with her when we saw her and why we want to sign her is that she's quite young centre-back with experience, and actually she's so mature and she's a leader. She have the strength. She's very tall, strong, and good on the ball. So for us, we see a potential high-quality centre-back in this league and probably one of the best centre-backs in the future. Now she's in the journey where she get to know us, how we play, get to know the players around, the opponents, this league. I still think she's been really good the first games in the league, but I also know that when she gets to the next level where she can have long ball, short passes, make sure she take the duels even more, and like the set pieces, she's so good there. So if she can score a few goals for us as well, that would be amazing. But the potential in her is so high to be a top centre-back in this league, and I think she's already giving us stuff, but I also know that it's going to be even better in the future when she get to know the game model and the teammates.
Thanks, Robert. Best of luck.
Cheers.
Rachel?
Hi, Robert. I wanted to ask you about, you talking a bit about defending, and obviously the last two games, Spurs have conceded, gone behind in the 44th minute, so it's sort of just before half-time both times. And do you think there's something specific that you need to change to manage that?
I think in one way it's those minutes, but I think it's actually in one way it's also two times where they scored 2 goals in a row in a short period of time as well. And to be clear, we don't really are pushed down and they're like attacking us with crazy numbers and so on. It's actually just coming from, not from nowhere, but it's more like situations where we need to be sharper. And I think it's a part of collaboration and communication to make sure we don't end up in those situations, and also to make sure to manage the game perhaps a little bit better. Like you said, it's a few more minutes of the first half. You don't really want to receive a goal, so you don't really need to go so much to score perhaps. Perhaps you can be a little bit more sharp how we do it. On the other hand, it's a corner kick, and we haven't received a single corner kick before that, and it's like an unlucky header from Amanda. So sometimes you also need to look at it with different eyes and just not with emotions. But definitely one thing we see is that we sometimes lose the ball in too easy areas in the build-up where we not really have press on the ball holder or something like that. And we need to fix that by actually having better quality in the passes, but also have a better strategy if we lose it and how we track them down, basically. And we looked at that, and we have some tactical issues we have added to that. And then it's all about the players as well, to make sure they understand a free kick can be really good in those scenarios instead of giving them the drive of the ball and so on. So it's a part of the learning process, but it's something we need to fix now, because otherwise we're going to have problems to win games, because if we receive so many goals every game, it's going to be tough.
And talking about win games and kind of scoring goals, it's been a while since Spurs have scored from open play. I mean, Claire Hunt's deflected shot is the last time in the last 3 games. So is that something that you're also working on a little bit, or are you confident that some of the players who are scoring in international goals, like Martha Thomas, are going to be able to bring that form back?
I mean, I think it's hard to speak about, okay, we haven't scored that kind of goal. We have scored 10 goals in 5 games, which is 2 goals per game, which is obviously a good one. Then it's a own goal, it's a deflection, it's a shot or whatever it is from Amanda, where the ball perhaps is not over the line, but it still goes. So in my way, it's still football goes when Jess do it to the line and do the cutback and they do the own goal. That's a part of how we want to attack. And if she doesn't hit it, we have, I don't remember who is in there, who's going to score it. So I'm not really worried about how we score the goals as long as we score goals. Then, of course, we need to make sure the players up there create more chances and score perhaps a little bit more goals from the 9 position, for example. But I'm not worried about it, because we still score goals and we still create chances against Chelsea away, Man United away. So it's a part of the journey where we need to be really more ruthless in some situations, I would say. I think we have in the 4th minute against Chelsea a really good build-up. We break lines till it comes to the left. We have players in the box. So it's all about decision-making as well and relations. So I'm not worried at all about attacking football. We're going to score more goals, and it's a little bit with self-confidence as well. But they will come, and we actually score goals. And if it's own goals every game, it's because we put the ball in those situations where they do their own goals. So, you will never... I feel good with own goals as well. It's no problem. But we cannot receive so many goals. That's the key. We create chances. We have possession. We score goals. So sorry, it's fine with own goals as well.
No way. Just in terms of goal scoring, obviously, when she was playing for England, Jess Glynne was used as sort of as a number 9, sort of centrally. We haven't seen her there very much for Spurs this season. We did last season a little bit. Is that something that you're still thinking about, or you're seeing her mostly as a winger this season?
I think it's a mixture. When we started the season in pre-season, when we were not allowed to show the friendly games, she was playing as a 9 in the first games, and then we had depending on who the squad, right? And then we signed a few players, and then we tried to find the right place in the right moments. She played a 9 the end of the games, the few games against Chelsea as well. I think she has some extremely good strength to be the 9, connected to the game model I want to bring into the team. And then it's obviously what games do that suit, and what kind of wingers do we have available, and what 10 do we have available. So she's obviously a winger and a 9, and she obviously is high potential 9 because she played in the Lionesses last game as a 9. So no, she can probably be back as a 9 soon in this squad as well. But we also have Bethany England and Martha Thomas as 9s, which mean, and they can play different roles as well. So it's depending on the rhythm of everything and what we need. But if you look at Jessica Nass for the long run, I think she will be a 9. I think her best strength is as a 9. I think she has a good chance to keep competing with the Lionesses as a 9. And I think sooner or later she might be a 9 in Tottenham as well.
Thank you.
Cheers.
We will go to Sophie Downey, girls on the ball.
Hi Robert, great to speak to you today. I was just going to ask, I know from last season you put so much emphasis on the academy and bringing players through, and that you want to have be the future of Lionesses as well. Just looking at this last international window, you just mentioned Jess Glynne there, obviously then they got her debut for the under-23s as well, and in the under-19s was very present, so that must be super pleasing.
Yeah, that made me very happy actually, because that's the whole procedure with having an academy, having a good youth system, and for us as a club to show the whole of England that we want to have these upcoming Lionesses. I think Ella Morris would probably have been in the under-23 if she didn't have the injury before as well. So, and if you look at Lena, for example, she played in Ipswich last season on loan. Perhaps nobody asked could she play in the Women's Super League this season? And she took so many good steps last season and in this pre-season, and now she's competing in our team and playing in under-23s, and I had some really good feedback after that camp that they really enjoyed working with her as well. Araya haven't got so much playtime yet, but she's still doing really good stuff in training, and she have an X factor which is really interesting. So I'm very happy to work with them, and I just hope that they can have the patience to keep working, because I feel like there's a good match with Tottenham. You can obviously see the journey Grace Clinton did last season and how she's acting in the national team now, and now Jessica Nass is doing the same stuff. So it's some clear evidence that we can bring young players up to the system and actually get them to the national team, and that's the main thing we want to do with the academy. And it pleases me that we're already now doing it, because it's quite early in the academy phase, to be honest.
Brilliant, thank you so much.
Cheers.
Charlotte.
Hi Robert, just building on some of these previous questions, what was that like for you as a manager to see one of your young players, Jess Glynne, actually start for the international, to get her first start? Obviously she played a couple of times, but how was it for you, for a coach, to see her get that number 9 shirt and walk out with the team at the beginning?
I think, as a coach, you want to, of course, win games for the club you work with, and you want to make sure you get a legacy with the club. But I'm very interested in play development and to see these young players coming up and play. So I always look to the national teams, and I can watch Sweden, and when I see Rosa Kafaji playing, or the young players who I've coached in Sweden and they play now, I'm feeling proud, and I'm feeling very happy for them, because they have worked so hard to get there. Jessica Nass, when I came here, she was, you can tell that she has a real talented power in her, but she couldn't handle the game. She couldn't really stay fit, and she couldn't really get the end product right. And now when you see she's starting as the number 9 in the Lionesses, it's some great storytelling there. And I think that's also what I want to be a part of, because that's one thing with my coaching career. I want to make sure I help those players bring this to the table. And perhaps we haven't been so much success with Tottenham, because we still haven't, it's an early part of the journey, but we really want to have those players coming up. And for me, that's a big thing for me. I want to win titles with the club, but I also want to make sure these players come up and play in the national team. And when Serena called me back and say that she's happy with my players, I'm feeling like perfect. The staff, the club is doing something really good to make sure we give something to the country, and that's what it's all about.
On a separate issue, there was a huge, big media deal for the WSL moving forward with Sky and BBC. I won't ask you about the business details of that. What I wanted to ask you was, there's all this money now coming into the game and coverage of the game, which is great, but we're still seeing things like on Sunday where the Spurs women are playing in a big London derby against West Ham, and the men are also playing at home against Aston Villa, which obviously causes a huge clash for fans. How frustrating is that for you and your team?
I mean, in one way, it's of course not good, because we want to have our fans there. We want to build the fan base, and we want to make sure we have a lot of fans to the games. On the other hand, the media, the TV is really pushing and helping us to grow women's football. So you also need to respect the hard thing to actually move all the games to make sure everybody's happy all the time. But I just hope that we can find even better ways to make sure that doesn't happen, and that we can make sure that the TV production can make sure we can find ways to play the games without having the same day and the same time, right? But I have enormous respect for the TV companies as well, because I think they actually try to push and help. So I'm just aware that it's a big problem, because there's so many clubs that have a men's team and a women's team, and obviously you're going to play on weekends, and it's really hard to make sure everything works together. But I just hope we can find better ways to make sure we can have all our fans at our home games, because we don't want to compete with the men's team, of course.
Thank you.
Chris.
Hello, Rob. I hope you're well. Just wondered what the mood has been like since the Chelsea game. Of course, 3 straight defeats, conceding 11 goals. And have you noticed anyone stepping up and showing real leadership qualities during this period?
Yeah, I mean, even if you go through tough periods, you get some good things from it. So basically, directly after the game, there was a lot of emotions on the pitch when we were speaking, and it's hard to reflect and analyze the game directly on the pitch. But so, for example, we spoke about Claire Hunt, how she was after the game, wanted to have a meeting with the players in the locker room to speak about the game and what we need to fix there and now. I think that's a great leadership to make sure that, to be responsible and not just blaming others, to make sure they have a discussion with the players, like, look, we're receiving too many goals. This is what we need to do. We need to raise the standards. So when a player like Claire Hunt steps up and do that, that shows me that that's great. We're building some really good characters that don't want to, complain or you put it on someone else. We're going to do it together. And then when all the players came back after a few days off, we were having some really good discussions, open discussions, self-awareness, both from the coaches and from the players, and also some direct feedback that we can handle that. And then we had some good days training, and then the players coming back today, and then we had a new discussion about the game, what we need to step up with, and the mentality, how we want to improve and how we want to be responsible and not blame anyone else. That's what I love with this group, and that's what creates new leaders in this group as well. So we're just in the beginning of something, and I think going through tough times, if you call 3 losses a tough time, because it is in one way, is you learn something from the group, from the staff, from the players, how we're going to take the next step. I'm developing a lot. I need to be really sharp how I try to reflect, give positive feedback, but still being direct with the feedback as well. So you can use this bad habit of losing games by actually become a better coach, a better player. And that's what we should do. So even if we lose a few more games, we're going to make sure we keep building for something. And in the long end, we're going to be so strong as players, as staff, as leaders, so we can handle every setback. And I think you can see the men's game as well. They had a poor game against Crystal Palace. Everything was, dark black. And then they go and beat Man City with some really good goals and managing that game. So it's a part of the structure we want to have in this club, where we can come back and we can grow new leaders, and we can make sure we find ways to win again.